What's going on, everybody? It is David Palmer, Leo King, and this is my show, Uncut Astrology, where I take off the mask and go deep behind the veil and give you this week's astrological forecast for the week of March the 22nd through the 28th of 2017. Thanks so much for being a subscriber to the Leo King app, and if you're purchasing this on YouTube, thank you for purchasing it. But of course, you know you get a way better deal by subscribing to the Leo King app or website through the leokingapp.com or the Google or Apple stores and getting the app. It's much cheaper that way. Now, we have got a very rare aspect happening this week. So I would call this week a karma week, and I would put the fate train to high whoop whoop. That is because Venus is retrograding on top of the sun this week. Now, this is the main transit of the week. Of course, there's some other big things happening this week with Mercury, so we're going to talk about how Mercury is a big aspect of this week, but the main thing is Venus. Venus, once every 18th months, passes the sun going backwards. That means Venus, in our view, is going backwards in retrograde, and this is when Venus is shifting to the other side of the plane, which means it's going from the morning star to the evening star. But before it could or from the evening star to the morning star, whatever one that it's going to. Right now we're actually going from the evening star to the morning star. But what's interesting is Venus is about to enter the underworld. That means you won't be able to see Venus, okay? Venus is now going to go through this really weird period where it takes a while for the sun and Venus to kind of separate to where you'll be able to see Venus again. Then, of course, Venus will move forward, and then it won't move all the way, you know? So there's a really weird karmic aspect this week because we are going to have the sun and Venus exactly conjunct each other on Friday into Saturday, all while Mercury is in this crazy, wild aspect. Mercury's going to square Pluto this week. It's going to oppose Jupiter. It's going to conjunct Uranus and Aries. So desire is going to be coming up extremely. Relationships, values, projects. There is so much this week when it comes to these aspects that are going through a really, I don't want to call it like a reintegration, but I want to call it a review that really is looking at deeper reflections of ourselves this week. What do we really want? Are these situations working out with work, relationships, projects, the things that we desire in our life? I mean, this is like shifting us. The last time Venus and the sun retrograded at this spot was 8 years ago, around this time, in March into April of 2000 and, 8 years ago, so 2009. So it's been that long. And there's a lot of shift that comes from 2009 and where you've come now, where that has shown up now in your life. And I think that we have to really talk about this because with Mercury now in the pressure spot, you know what? It's not easy situations. That means this is not going to be easy to figure out. That means that the communication is going to be crazy. That means that your mind's going to be tripping out. And especially that, Saturn and Chiron are in a square and Chiron's moving forward. You know, it feels like they're just extremely difficult situations that you're going to have to go through to shift as you are shifting internally your desires, as you are shifting in your relationships, as you are shifting in the things that you want. I don't think it's a negative thing, but I think that it's like, wow, I have to go over this huge hill. I have to go over this huge aspect to get really what I want in my life. And maybe I don't know how to communicate it. I don't know if I want to speak about it correctly. I don't want to cause disharmony in situations with Jupiter, of course, starting to oppose Mercury this week, and Jupiter and Pluto are squaring. So it's like, in order to get what we really want in our life, we do have to explore outside of the realms. There is going to be some sort of disharmony with Pluto in Capricorn because, of course, Capricorn and Libra square. And with Pluto here, it's saying, in order to get what you want, you're going to have to make tough choices. You're going to have to make tough decisions. And this Sun-Venus conjunction happening at the 5th and 6th degrees, it's like of Aries, it's at the very beginning of Aries. It's at a very strong part of Aries. And it's a very intense aspect, especially if you just look weeks from now when Venus goes back into Pisces, which is going to happen on April 2nd, which I'm actually doing a live pay-per-view event and a live show in San Diego. If you want to be part of that, join me for that, which you can get the pay-per-view, or you could be and meet me in San Diego. That's at pathoftheprophecies.com. I know I went off target there, but April 2nd is when Venus will come back into Pisces where it's exalted, but Saturn's waiting there and Chiron's there. And so it's like, this week is kind of the beginning of the weirdness of Venus retrogrades. This week really starts to put it where it's confusing. There's going to be a lot of mental strain. I think that there'll be a lot of epiphanies by the weekend This is also a week where Mars is going to move into the second decan of Taurus. So, you know, when it comes to the things that we desire in our life, the things that we want to create, the things that we're building, you know, there are great aspects that are moving on and at the same time. So it's kind of weird as there's great things moving forward in life, and then there's other things that we're rethinking about whether or not we still like them or not, whether or not we want to keep building in those areas or not. How is it going to cause disharmony to others and people in their life about the things that you desire, the things that you want? This is Aries, remember. You know, this is my first uncut of the year in the new astrological year. You know, this is a new year. It's the equinox period. You can feel the Aries energy. It is wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, intense, and it puts things right up in your face. And this is a week where things are going to come up right on your face when it comes to your desires, and you can't hide it. You know, even though Venus is going to go into hiding for a little bit, it's going to pull up all the stuff that has been hiding, especially that Pluto squaring Jupiter now, especially that Pluto is squaring Mercury. This is a lot of Pluto this week. There's a lot of Venus. There's a lot of Mercury. I mean, you're dealing with desire. You're dealing with how to understand it. How are you going to figure it out? How are you going to tweak it? The moon's going to be in dark phase this week, and then we come into a new moon by the week's end in Aries, which was with this Venus aspect that just happened. So, you know, there's a lot of things that are going to come to a sort of a really weird kind of personal, interior, trying to figure out how to redirect your life towards more of what you want, how to redirect your life and mold it to the way that makes you feel better, that makes you feel the person that you really want to be, that makes you feel the edge, the life that you are, the life force that you want to feel. And I think that by the new moon on Monday, I think that we really will start to feel, okay, here we go. But you know, this weekend there's going to be a lot of deep inner weird work. Mercury coming on top of Uranus, some big epiphanies, you having to stew around a lot inside. And there's not going to be a way to hold it in. You know, the thing about there's going to be some big squares this week. You're not going to be able to hold it in. Things are going to come out this week. You're going to try and suppress it, try and hold it. But by this new moon, you know, it's all going to come out. So by week's end, it's like it's all going to come out. There's going to be kind of a little bit of I think of a crazy show that happens from what our desires really are and being honest about our desires and being, you know, having to communicate our honesty, having to communicate our beliefs, even though, you know, trying to maintain peace, trying to maintain harmony, it won't be the easiest of things, you know. This is going to be a very fated week. Random events happening. There's a lot of Aquarian Uranus energy with the moon in Aquarius. It's going to sextile over to Uranus this week. There's going to be some really weird aspects, especially as the Venus-Sun things happen. So I'm predicting from Friday to Monday being the craziest part of the week. I think that Friday to Monday is going to be the most intense parts with the dark moon, with all those aspects happening. I think Thursday is a little bit trippy as well with Mercury making some heavy squares, but I really do believe that that Friday moment of the Sun Venus and coming into Monday is really going to be a very big redirection in our idea of life, our perception of things, our what we want, what we desire, or relook at it all. And you know what? We do have to reintegrate who we really are in our lives and almost take back who we really are. And this is going to be the beginning process of that. So there's a lot to think about there. There's a lot to stew about there when it comes to what's going on. And I wish you the best. I know it's not going to be the easiest, but at the same time, it's great. There's great parts of ourselves that are moving forward right now. But you know what? There's other parts of ourselves that need to catch up with the team, that need to get back on that team. Imagine if there was that one part of yourself that you're hesitating on, that you're not giving yourself that full power, that was going to jump on those other parts of yourself right now that are moving at awesome rates of speed, that are moving at awesome power rates. And imagine if you could combine those together. And that's what this is about, is integration to parts of ourself that need to become more whole. Our soul body, our soul experience need to become more whole. And that's what a lot of this is about, and not denying that part of ourself, being honest with that, and seeing how relationships, seeing how people handle who we are, how we are, and not going to be the easiest of aspects, but it's the beginning. This isn't going to be the end-all, be-all this week. Venus retrograde continues on through a little bit going on, so it's not over. But this is the beginning of it, even though it already happened, you know, weeks ago it started. It's crazy because it's happening with the Sun and Venus now, and it's finally hitting planet. It's finally coming into a sensitive zone of the zodiac, the first degrees of Aries into the last degrees of Pisces coming into next week. So, you know, this is the beginning, folks, and it's all going to start to well up this week. Be prepared and watch how you know, I know you have desires, but, you know, communication is definitely going to be a powerful part of this week. Unpredictable, weird things coming up this week. Karma coming up in extreme ways. Just go with the flow and go with your authentic and true self. Thanks so much for all the support. I truly appreciate it. If you want to join me next week for my pay-per-view or live event, if you're in San Diego, go to that was my last event. So I'm so used to saying it. Pathoftheprophecies.com. Pathoftheprophecies.com. You can also find the link. It's on my Facebook. Thanks so much for all your support. I truly appreciate it, everyone. If you want to get a reading with me, my new reading rates are at inclusiveastrology.com. Thanks so much for all your support, and I will see you next week.